Now we have Anibal Bher. He's a research associate at the School of Packaging at Michigan State University. His research focuses on biodegradable packaging, sustainability, and life cycle assessment. His focus today will be on the idea of compostable plastic and how this can improve plastic management and our planet. Please welcome Anibal Bher.
Thank you. Thank you for the presentation, and thank you to Stephanie and Sigmund for the invitation. So I will talk a little about compostable packaging when it makes sense to have a packaging that can go to a composting facility. So I am sure that you all see this kind of news all the time, the newspaper about plastic pollution, how to solve the plastic pollution crisis. We have technologies in place like recycling, for example, waste management, and the development and design of the material is also important, right? So let me talk a little about what compostable packaging can do, or what is the idea behind that. So I will go through the main concepts of the compostable packaging, what is the level of acceptance at this point in composting facilities, right? So the agenda is basically some basic stuff about biodegradable polymers, the packaging market, what is happening for plastic pollution in general and for packaging when it becomes waste, compostable packaging, why it makes sense compostable food packaging in particular, and what is the relationship between the composting and compostable packaging in composting facilities across US. And also I will show you at the end what are we doing at the School of Packaging at MSU, working with Dr. Ara's group. So to start with biodegradable polymers, that is a very general picture. In general, we have biodegradable polymer that can be from fossil sources or bio-based sources. There's some confusion always that biodegradable means same than composting or compostable, and that isn't right. So in general, what we have here is degradation, right? That could be mechanical, oxidative degradation, thermal, etc. And one of the type of degradation is biodegradation, where you have microorganisms involved in the process. And in one particular case for biodegradation is composting, right? When you have a defined set of parameters where microorganisms can degrade organic waste and also packaging or plastic that is biodegradable. So, as I said, we have polymers that derived from fossil resources, typical ones, PVAT and polybutylene succinate that can go to biodegradation. And we have other options like recycling, and well, they cannot go to recycling or biodegradation. We have the option of incineration or landfill. Similar for bio-based polymers. They have the option to go to biodegradation, but some of them are also not biodegradable, so they need to go to incineration or end in landfills. Now, we are still, in terms of production globally, the bio-based production of polymer is still very small in comparison to fossil production of polymers. So, but the amount of bio-based polymers is increasing slowly through the years, but we are still in a very small amount in comparison to fossil bases. Global market for packaging production is growing, so consumption is increasing, production is increasing. In terms of packaging, we in general have metal, glass, paper. The one that now the higher proportion are rigid plastic and flexible plastic, mostly single-use packaging. And so that market is increasing through every year. Now, since production is increasing, consumption is increasing, well, we have the problem that the plastic pollution globally is also increasing because it's not, the management of waste is not done properly. So some of the numbers here, for example, is that in 2019, around 350 million tons of plastic waste was generated globally, from where 65% went to landfill or was incinerated, right? Around 20% of that was just ending as a litter or just open dumps, or just burning. And you have just a small amount that is 15% of that 350 million tons of plastic waste that was collected for recycling. But actually not all that amount was effectively recycled, because recycling, mechanical and at some point chemical recycling is still not the real answer to the solution of the waste management of plastic. So if we continue with business as usual, the estimations are that we will keep increasing the plastic pollution, right? Moving from 2020 to 2040, it will increase. And the projection for 2040 is like we will have mostly of the waste that will be generated will go to landfill, recycling, but we will have more than half of that waste that is totally mismanaged, right? That it will go to open burning or just leaked to the environment if we continue in this way. From that universe that is plastic, we have plastic packaging, right? The global context, and mostly it's packaging, right? From the production of plastic, that is around 40%, and from the waste that is generated from plastic, around 40% is going to landfill, 32% is leakage to the environment, and a small amount is collected for recycling. That could be mechanical or even for composting, and around 14% is going to incineration at the end. So one of the main issues is single-use packaging, especially flexible packaging that is likely to be connected to food packaging, and in general is at the end of the use is contaminated with food, right? So I would like to talk about the biodegradation in the context of a waste management system. So not considering litter, because even if we have a material that is biodegradable, that can go to soil degradation, composting, water degradation. So a material is designed to go to a specific environment to be subjected to degradation or biodegradation. So if something is biodegradable, doesn't mean that it's just something that you can just litter, that you can just dispose on open environment. You need to have the right treatment in order to, like all other type of materials, right? So something is biodegradable, but if that is litter, is litter. So the US, the Environmental Protection Agency, suggested a waste management hierarchy, and we have, first place is, that is before generating the problem, right? Prevention and reduction. When that cannot happen, we need to, the second level is try to reuse the material, and then when that material cannot be reused, we can go to mechanical recycling, material recycling. We have the option of chemical recycling that is coming as an option, but it's still not there. And then we have the option of organic recycling, that is the composting process. In order to send the less amount possible to incineration and finally to landfill, avoiding 100% avoiding leakage to the environment, right? But also and I will show at the end, this waste management hierarchy, it also depends, because what is important to evaluate for every product is the what is called the environmental footprint. So what we are doing in general is the life cycle assessment of that product. So, and in the life cycle assessment of a product, as a, for example, a packaging system, we need to consider the end of life of that packaging system. So, in the case of biodegradable, compostable, and bio-based, particularly for bio-based materials, they can go to, so we have the renewable material, we have, for example, this is just natural polymer like starch, cellulose, you have the production, you have the product, and then you have the disposal of that product that you have the option to go on recycling or energy recovery. And in this case, if that is compostable, you have the option of submitting to a compost facility, right? So you have the complete cycle of that raw material. Now, specifically for compostable packaging, it must be certified, right? And you will find available when buying something at a supermarket or food at a restaurant that some of them it has a label that say compostable packaging. So in order to be a product to be certified, it needs to go to a process of testing, a certification that here in particular in US happens through the BPI Institute. So they provide a certification for that product. The idea of a compostable plastic packaging is that should be certified for composting after use. And they are not, one of the main ideas is that they should not be mixed with the conventional plastic that will go for mechanical recycling, for example. Because what is generating is like you are contaminating the stream that is for mechanical recycling with products that are contaminated with food, with oil, etc. So that is the idea of sending material that is contaminated, compostable packaging, contaminated with food packaging, with food or organics, that can go to a composting facility. So why is important packaging material, why is composting of packaging material relevant? Well, the idea behind this is create a pathway to circularity for plastic that are not eliminated with the recycling level of the waste management or that cannot go to incineration or landfill. So a compostable packaging that can go to industrial composting facilities need to meet 4 main criteria. One is the chemical composition or chemical characteristics. The second one is the biodegradation. So that is the testing that happened to be certified. So you need to biodegrade, but at least 90% between 6 months under controlled composting conditions, basically temperature and humidity. Also, it needs to be disintegrated in a period of time, usually 12 weeks, and it needs to be tested for ecotoxicity. So after passing all those 4 criteria, a compostable packaging can be certified as a compostable, so it can be disposed with organic waste and it can go to a composting facility. So what is the value of compostable packaging? Well, some of the main points are allows for capturing and diverting food waste, cleaner the recycling stream, so avoiding to go food or other organic waste to the recycling of material that can be recycled. That is a solution for not recyclable packaging, as the one contaminated with food. It can go to compost, and the final compost that you can obtain, mixed with organic waste, can support soil as a carbon sink, can supplement carbon sources in the composting process, and finally supporting the biological cycle of the circular economy. So some of the institutes that are studying all the time compostable packaging have some suggestion of what should not be, at this point, compostable packaging, and they consider that, for example, the rigid and recyclable plastic the common one, like the PET, water bottles, they can go for recycling, at least mechanical recycling. Some of the packaging that is used for personal care and cosmetic, because they include the leftover of the product inside the packaging. Sometimes it's not safe as a feedstock for compost, right? Then it's not suitable for composting. And packaging that in general is not used for food. So it's the packaging that corrugated boxes, for example. In general, corrugated boxes can go for recycling. What about the future of compostable packaging? So that future involves four main areas. We have design, collection, the composting process, and the consumer education that I consider that is the most important, right? So in terms of design, when designing the material that can go to a composting facility, well, you need to consider eliminating all chemical of concern, designing for faster biodegradation. That is a key point because in general, when designing the material, and we are studying and developing material all the time at the School of Packaging, in general, you need to design something that will have the properties, mechanical properties. For example, for the use of that material, a bottle or something that will contain food. So, and sometimes when designing the right properties for the application of the product, you are affecting how the biodegradation or how fast the biodegradation will happen. And also designing a smart compostable packaging that can detect and prevent spoilage. In terms of the second one is collection. So that needs to be improved all around the country. So improve the widespread curbside collection of food waste, also with compostable packaging. The food waste legislation that makes composting program more widespread, and collection program that outline when compostable packaging should be used. So basically more information at the collection point. I will talk a little about the composting process later, if they are accepting or not compostable packaging, but basically it's improving and retrofitting the composting facilities and turning to more advanced composting technologies. And the last one that I think is one of the main important is consumer education at all the levels. So companies, brands, they need to provide labeling so people know, people have the right information, and that is what is happening. The mistake that is happening is that you will find a lot of products that say biodegradable, but they don't say compostable because they are not certified as a compostable. So, okay, they could be biodegradable, but it doesn't mean that can go to a composting facility. People is mixing that, and everything is going to a composting facility that is accepting them, and that slows down the process. So, talking a little about the composting process, well, it's a biodegradation process that controls the biological decomposition and transformation of biodegradable materials. We have two main settings. The home composting is mostly like a natural thing that you control some of the parameters there, and industrial composting is basically that you use technology to accelerate the process where the main parameter is to control is temperature, the carbon, nitrogen ratio, oxygen, moisture, and the pH. Basic technologies, windrow composting, aerated static pile, and in-vessel composting. And this is something that we are also testing in the lab that we need to evaluate. So, as I say, in our product, in order to be certified, it needs to be evaluated, and even for toxicity. So one of the most important or reliable method is respirometric method, that basically what we are doing is tracking the evolution of CO2, of carbon dioxide. And for that, we have a standard in place, HTM and international standard, ISO standard, that provide all the parameters and set of methodologies to evaluate the biodegradability of the plastic materials. So this is one of the standards. And finally, you go to germination, plant growth, and concentration of metals. So all these steps need to be done in order to certify a product as compostable. And these are some of the certifications for industrial composting. You have certification in Europe also for home composting and even for open environment. So a material can be certified as biodegradable in open environment. Now, what is happening right now is that composting packaging is not very well accepted in composting facilities, because what they have here is they don't have the time frame and the comparison with organic waste that will biodegrade really fast is different than a compostable, even for a compostable packaging. So that is one of the back and forth with composting facilities. These are two reports that just out that I want to share with you about a composting consortium with that they were studying across 10 composting facilities in US, and they were studying certified composting packaging, compostable packaging. And they found that actually when you have only compostable packaging, you have the biodegradation in place, and the compost that you have at the end it has the same quality or similar quality than the compost that is just organic waste. But the main thing that is going on is that we are still mixing something that is compostable with something that is biodegradable, but is not right for composting facilities. So that is something that it needs to be improved. So if biodegradable can be compostable, but it must be certified compostable in order to go to a composting facility. So I am running out of time, so I will share some of our work. So home composting, we are doing work in that area. This is part of my group, my advisor, and some of my colleagues here. We are studying the material that they are already biodegradable and compostable in high temperature, the one that you will find in composting facilities. And we are trying to work and improve the home composting capability and the biodegradability of that material at lower temperatures. So, opportunities. If compostable packaging are properly implemented, they could divert plastics from going to landfill and from reaching the environment. Litter should not happen, never. And the challenges are similar to recycling technologies. So there is a great challenge for collecting organics. Time frame of industrial composting process are different across the US and around the world, right? So just quickly, this is part of our work. So we in general develop our own material. This is an example of a plastic bag that we developed, and we are testing. We are testing for biodegradation, and we are also evaluating the life cycle assessment of those materials. We have an environmental chamber to evaluate the biodegradation in simulated composting in laboratory conditions. This is a bigger picture. So we have bioreactors. We have the compost, for example, we mix with that material and we test over the time. This is a chamber. We can fit there 95 bioreactors, and it's really hot inside. It's around 140 Fahrenheit inside, so, and we work inside. Yeah, so I think I will share that. So I have something about, but the takeaway message is compostable packaging is targeted for a specific plastic that is contaminated with organic and that cannot be recycled. So that is material that cannot be mechanical recycled, for example. It offers a way for natural recycling. And if compostable packages are properly implemented, they could divert plastic from landfill. And finally, I think that the takeaway is education and engagement. That should happen, because otherwise you can have the material, but and we can design the material in the lab, but if it just finishes littering or leakage to the ocean or lakes, it's nothing. The solution is not there, right? So, thank you.
Thank you.